Hello there again. Welcome back to chapter 32, Knocked Awake. Elsie wrenched the professor out of the way just in time before the mammoth's giant feet thumped on the floor. Smash! Whoo! It cried. Why is it trying to kill us? Yelled the girl. We just brought it back to life. It's a wild beast, replied the professor. It's not going to say thank you. Now, for goodness sake, help me. Elsie grabbed the old man under his armpits and pulled him up the huge stone staircase that led upwards through the main hall. When the pair were a few steps up, the mammoth spun round and smashed into the diplodocus skeleton. Crash! Elsie ducked as the giant bones came thundering down all around them. Whack! One struck the professor across the forehead and knocked him out cold. Doof! Professor! Shouted Elsie. The girl slapped the old man across the face to wake him. When that didn't work, she dragged him further up the stairs to escape the animal. The mammoth began pacing towards them. It reached the bottom of the steps just as Elsie had managed to drag the professor halfway up. Surely the creature could not follow them up the stairs. To Elsie's horror, it could. No! Cried the girl. Unsteadily, the mammoth rested its giant feet on the first step, then the second, then the third. Thud, thud, thud. In a rush to flee further up the steps, Elsie dropped the professor. His head hit the stone. Clunk. Normally, this would have been enough to knock someone out, but as he was already knocked out, it actually had the opposite effect. It knocked him awake. Ouch! He cried. You're awake, replied Elsie. Have I missed anything? We're still going to die. Oh no. Ooh! The mammoth let out its distinctive cry again, its trunk aloft and its sharp tusks now inches from the pair's faces. The creature whisked its head back as if getting ready to impale them. Help! Cried the girl. Just then there was a mighty smash overhead. Kabang! Dotty had crashed her hot air balloon straight through the newly repaired stained glass window of the main hall. Smash! It descended at speed through the hall. The bottom of the wicker basket struck the mammoth hard on the head. Boof! Hoo! This cry sounded different, like a cry of fear. The mammoth scuttled back down the steps and across the main hall to hide under the shadow of an archway. Meanwhile, the basket landed with a thud and skidded across the floor until it came to a sudden stop against the wall. Crash! Oof! Said Dotty. As the cleaning lady scrambled to her feet, she surveyed the scene. There were scattered dinosaur bones, the shards of glass from the window and the tank, the pools of icy water, the broken basket, and the hot air balloon made of 1,000 handkerchiefs and one pair of bloomers strewn across the floor. Naughty mammoth! Exclaimed Dotty. Look at this mess. It will take me all night to clear this up. Idiotic woman. This is the least of our troubles, interrupted the professor. The beast just tried to kill us. Isn't that right, Elsie? Elsie? The professor looked over his shoulder, but the girl had gone. Elsie? He called. Elsie! Unknown to him, the girl had made her way over to the archway to take a closer look at the mammoth. Keep back, you foolish child, shouted the professor. Shh, shushed the girl. You're frightening it. Whatever you do, don't touch it, shouted the professor. The brave little girl ignored him and reached out her hand to meet the creature's trunk. It was the only part of the mammoth that was not hidden in the darkness. First, its trunk performed a little dance around the girl's hand, like a snake being charmed. Then Elsie held out her hand flat, and something magical happened. The prehistoric met the modern. The two touched. Chapter 33. What's in a name? It's beautiful, whispered the girl. Little by little, Elsie was gaining the creature's trust. At first, her hand only touched the end of the mammoth's trunk for a moment. The animal would retreat before the girl would try again. Then, as gently as she could, so as not to startle it, she began stroking the fur of its trunk. The animal pressed against her a little. Elsie took this as a prompt to continue, so she started doing longer strokes, branching out to pats on its cheeks. The animal recoiled. Elsie realised her hand was too near the mammoth's eyes, so moved it further away. She even tried a tickle under the chin, because stray cats always like that. Just like the stray cats, the mammoth purred a little. Behind Elsie, the two grown-ups were edging closer to take a look. The professor back in his wheelchair, and Dotty pushing him. Neither one could believe their eyes. It's extraordinary, muttered the professor. There's a special connection between them. Like me and me favourite mop, added Dotty. I think it just misses its ma, that's all, whispered the girl. Then she spoke to the mammoth. Don't you worry. I'll look after you. I promise. Although the animal couldn't understand the words, it did understand the feeling. Elsie spoke in soothing tones, and with all the strokes and tickles too, the mammoth could sense the girl's kindness. This is history being made, boasted the professor. History all about me, the greatest scientist of the age, nay, of all time. Dotty rolled her eyes. Here we go again. I and I alone have brought the dead back to life. I am the real-life Dr. Frankenstein, and this is my monster. The professor lifted his hand to touch the mammoth. Instantly, the creature retreated into the darkness. It's not a monster, replied Elsie. She slid under the mammoth for a quick look. It's a she, and she's not yours. She's not anybody's. We've set her free. I don't care if this thing likes me or not. It seems awful calling it a thing, chimed in Dotty. She needs a name. Elsie and Dotty thought for a moment. Woolly, exclaimed the girl. You can't call it Woolly, replied the professor. Why not? asked Dotty. No, scoffed the man. It's boring, far too obvious. It's like calling a dog Doggy. That's a good name for a dog, replied Dotty. I wish I'd thought of that. I called mine Catty. Heaven help us, said the professor. Well, let's vote on it, steamed in Elsie. Women don't have the vote, snapped the man. The girl grimaced. Not yet, no, but we can vote on this. How? He asked. Because I say so. Now hands up if you want to name this mammoth Woolly, said Elsie. The two ladies put up a hand each. Looks like you're outvoted, Professor, sniggered the girl. Darn and blast, he thundered. What did you want to call her? Asked Dotty. I wanted to name it after me. Well, that's a surprise, mused the lady. The Professor? Asked Elsie, her face screwed up in confusion. No. The Professor Osbert Bertram Cuthbert Farnaby Beverley Smith Mammoth. That's a mouthful, remarked Dotty. No, it would take too long to say. She's called Woolly, and that's that. Not fair, he snapped. And don't try and touch her, Oswald Barnaby, Custard Beatrice, whatever your stupid name is. She doesn't like you, said Elsie. Woolly! The girl held out her hand again, and slowly the animal's trunk uncurled out of the darkness. She touched the tip and ran her hand down it again. She must be peckish, remarked Dotty. I'd be peckish if I'd been asleep for 10,000 years. Shall I make her a nice cheese and pickle sandwich? Mammoths don't eat cheese and pickle sandwiches, snapped the professor. Ham and pickle? No, they don't have ham and pickle either. They don't have any type of sandwiches. Sandwiches weren't invented until 100 years ago. All right, Brainbox, what do mammoths eat then? Pressed Dotty. They are herbivores, replied the professor. Herbie who? Spluttered the lady. Grass, leaves, plants, and lots of them. Well, we'd better get her to a park then, said Elsie. The professor shook his head. We can't take this creature outside into the world. Why ever not? Asked the girl. Because it belongs in a cage. Oh dear. So join me next time and find out what happens to Wooly in chapter 34, Cage. Bye for now.